Hello everyone and welcome to the Deeply Renegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deeply Renegade, and I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 332. Today is Saturday, August 29th, 2020, and I'm glad you could join me today. Fog level currently is I can't see Forest Hill. I probably can see Suture Tower, but this particular perch, it is not possible. And if I can see Suture Tower, I can definitely see the orange house on the hill. So hopefully in roughly 2 weeks, the time of fog will be over, but we can be thankful that I have delightful soft light with which to record. So would it be the typical whatever washing out will not occur today. And it was just interesting because this week was all about the small wins. So after working on so many epic, ridiculously long projects like this week, keeping everything nice and contained and easy, and I'm for it. Though I guess later today I'm going to try to make a pear tart, and reading the instructions, I probably should have started making the pear tart before podcasting. But oh well, whatever. Maybe weighing the pears to see if I even have enough pears to make pear tart would be a good first start. But I pulled out one of 3 full bags my mother-in-law has given to me, and I figured that it was very nicely matching the yarn that I was using, which was cool. So I actually finished 2 things this week, and we'll talk about those first, just because it sort of leads into the work in progress from there. Because it'll be slightly easier. And I just threw on this hitchhiker, which is made out of Womiso Sammy, but I'm gonna have to take it off. It was conveniently lying on the floor, as they sometimes do. So I knit a Tensfield hat this week. I actually finished it up last night after spinning group was over. But I was trying to make sure that I didn't end up making it too loose, because cotton does not have the same, I don't know, there's all sorts of interesting configurations you can wear it. So this one sort of highlights that. I rotated around the head like that, probably made it look super crazy. And then you can wear it like this, and that maybe also highlights different things. But I figure that this is like the perfect handspun pattern, and I figure having another hat that I can throw on is probably a good thing. So, super gorgeous. Really love how the colors and stripiness ended up turning out. So, because I finished this and I had so much yarn left over. So this is a Empower People bandana. I referenced a couple of different directions for this guy, but we'll bring it in like a little bit closer to be able to see. So I ended up doing the brioche pattern, or using the brioche pattern, but then manipulating it a little bit to make sort of diamonds and leaves, depending on my mood. So, what would it be? And I just left my little marker in, because this is where I was last time I podcast, and then I very quickly knit the rest of it. So I think I finished this bandana on Tuesday, and then what would it be? So I knit this bandana on Tuesday, I finished this hat on Friday, and I still have a lot of yarn left. So, so this is hip strings cotton. in the Unicorn Tie-Dye and Blueberry Crumble colorway. So this is mostly Blueberry Crumble. This is mostly a combination of Blueberry Crumble and Unicorn Tie-Dye. And what I have left, which is very pink with bright blue in it, pink, white, bright blue, a little bit of like light purple, is what I'm knitting this guy out of. So this is actually a more to pattern version of the Empower People project, but in this case I am knitting with this light fingering yarn instead of the DK that the pattern calls for. Still, that said, quick project. So in order to translate it, I needed to, so I started knitting this, realized something was a little bit off, and then I realized that I needed to, basically I needed to set up my gauge so that this was 2 inches wide, and what I had cast on was making it something more like 1 1/4. So I cast on a couple more stitches and it's much closer to 2. It's still under 2, but it's closer. And now I'm just knitting away on this. So I figure that it'll probably make a slightly more substantial one. So this guy is probably big enough that I probably can't wear it. Actually, how does one kerchief with an already made kerchief? Let's try this. Yeah, it's probably, or would it be? It's probably, yeah, it's a little bit too loose to be like a kerchief on me. Still pretty cute, all things considered. It probably highlights, shows off the pattern a little bit better, but this one's probably more of like a neck thing. It's just like a cute little bandana. It probably looks better as a bandana. If I put my hair down, maybe it might work a little bit better. So this was like Nancy Marchand and Casapinka and what would it be? I think Lady Di is definitely a part of the project as well. And so the thought process is knit a purple bandana kerchief thing, and then encourage people to make sure that they're registered to vote. They know what to do to vote. What would it be? All of the different options they have. So in that regard, this project has failed for me talking about making sure that you're ready to vote. This week I finally got my voter registration card in the mail, which wasn't like it was too crazy. I think earlier in August I finally became legal in the eyes of the state of California. And then, oh, this one's, or I guess it's inside out. Not that it really matters with brioche. Both sides look. This is the wrong side of the brioche, but it still looks really cool. I know, I just found it to be very fetching. I'm trying to tilt it in a way that you maximize the shadows so you can really see the pattern. And I will probably enter this into a couple of items for the Bay Area Fiber Fair. I guess there wasn't, or I'll just take fetching photos and call it good. Would it be? It was interesting because I'm not following the hashtag, but people are, so people who I've never seen before on Instagram like the posts, so that was sort of cool. So hand spun, cotton, blue adjacent. This one's probably a little bit more blue. The hand spun just looks absolutely gorgeous. And the garter stitch which is why I decided to knit the regular pattern as well, because I weighed the yarn, and so is the case where I have, roughly speaking, about, I have about 30 grams in each one. So this makes sense that I can get one more thing out of it, and maybe this one will actually be the proper size to be a bandana around my head instead, or make sure that I have like a little bit of negative ease so it can work as a bandana. We shall see. So far so good. So this bandana is going to be way more pink, but there's also blues and purples in this as well, so I figure it is appropriately blue adjacent. So I'll have a chance to talk about this again, but that project went pretty quick. I think that was just like the last gasp of I miss knitting brioche. I should finish working on that. So I'll have to create a little project page for this guy and make sure everything else is all wrapped up and done. So it shouldn't be too crazy. But yeah, no, this is turning out really gorgeous. We'll bring it in. So you've got the blues, the purples, and the pinks. Close, can I bring it in? And have it focus. Maybe that close. Hide my face. Okay. So I'm really pleased with how this is turning out. And what it be? I think that's always the challenge with handspun, is you're trying to find a project for it that uses as much of it as you can, but not too much that you run out. And what I've decided with this particular one is to, what it be, make 3 coordinating items, which sort of defeated the purpose of the gradient I applied up, but it was the right color for the project, so close enough. You gotta make it work sometimes. So really excited about that. Really nice to have Ergo to be, you know how long, or I don't know how long it has been since I've had 2 FOs in a row done that were knit within that week. So it was nice to have some quick, easy projects to do. And honestly, the reason why there has been so much knitting is because there really hasn't been that much spinning. I did do non-zero spinning, but or whatever, not nearly as much. So I was able to take that time that I would spend spinning and spend it knitting instead. So what would it be? I don't know if that's going to be a new balance, at least for a little while, because on one hand, a decent portion of my stash is fiber. And then spinning that fiber greatly decreases the size of the stash, or the volume of the stash. But I also say maybe it's a little bit of pushback against, it would be a little bit of pushback against being incentivized to spin during stash dash, which was, of course, pretty crazy totals. So I did work a very small amount on my Mesa sweater wrap this week. So you can see I chunked a progress keeper in. I did actually finish a row, so that was cool. And I did get this onto bigger needles. So that is also positive. Not big enough that I can fully unfurl it, but that's okay. So you can see the lighter teal and then teal blue underneath. I'm still working away on some of that original yarn, but I'm getting very close to using up the teal because it just sort of came along for a ride. Hair everywhere. So I'm getting closer, but there's still a pretty decent amount of yarn here. So the thought process is, roughly speaking, that I have 2/3 of the teal blue left when I'm done with this color, and then knit enough of, what would it be? So I'm what I'm attempting to do is to make sure that I have the amount knit so that it's about 1/3 of the next color or something like that. And they're all like, or would it be, they're all maybe like slightly different weights and lengths of yarn, so it's probably better to account for this by length instead of weight, but weight is much easier to measure. So I'll do weight and hope it's pretty close. But I didn't get a lot of love this week. I was, what would it be, focused on the cute little quick win projects, as you do. So Romy Hill pattern, Mesa sweater wrap, knit out of my hand spun, which is Jenny the Fleece. Not too crazy. And what actually ended up taking a fairly significant amount of time was I actually did an Instagram live last Sunday where I spent an hour ripping out the original start of the sweater. So it's done. What would it be? I gave up on that 1,000 yards of knitting. But that's fine. That's perfectly acceptable. And I really do believe that the pink dye in the purple is fugitive, because I had like a little ball that I had skewered and then had in my project, and the center of that ball was purple and the outside of it was green. So I don't know. So there is something about that pink that is not staying, and I don't know if it's sunlight or crocking or what. I don't know. I don't think I noticed that my hands would be turning pink, but I think that's why that color is just weird. And there isn't really anything I can do about it at this point because there's no over dyeing that I could do to make it look more purple, because that would skew the other colors in the gradient. So I reclaimed my 4 balls of yarn. So this guy is the ever gorgeous blue teal. Let me keep covering my face until it focuses. Whatever. Such is life. So I reclaimed all of that, and maybe you can see, I don't know whether or not you guys can be able to see, so the center of this guy, oh, I don't think it's going to show. It's very clear in real life. This guy's sort of fuzzy. Interesting. Whatever. Not that it really matters. So in real life, which, whatever, this isn't real life apparently, I have this outer thing of the ball, because that was, that actually does in fact look purple, and then you can see inside that it looks green. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe I can take a picture for Instagram to show, because I think by the time I finished dealing with everything, it was, dark enough that I wasn't going to be able to get good photos. But I definitely see green and definitely have purple, but I'm assuming that purple does not stay. So I don't know, or maybe it's just something weird about this particular one, but I don't remember it being like this. So this is the one that I had started the sweater with, but it's just too weird of a color. So now it's going to be buried deep within my sweater, and life continues on. So yeah, these just look gray. They're not gray in real life, but maybe they're very similar to gray, who knows. Whatever. So that was the big thing there. So if you wanted to watch me chat with people while I rip out the sweater, I have that saved to my Instagram TV if you want to know more. I think I talk about a bunch of other things because, what would it be? Rachel always asks good questions. I appreciate that. So, not too crazy, coming along. I did check the length, and it is only a little bit longer than my original attempt, but maybe it'll be the case where I opt to block it a little bit wider to give it that more drape. I did, when I added more stitches to this, I skewed it so that it would drape across the front more. So I kept the shoulder distance the same, but then the drapey distance different. I think I could wear it. Not that it's quite draping right, but it should look cute. I'm looking forward to it. So I am not yet to the part where I whack in the arms, and I'm going to wait a little bit longer on this version of it to whack in the arms. So I will be a little bit more patient for something new to do on this project, and that's fine. So, come along. Oh no! Stitches are popping off, and we don't want that. Okay. Not without danger showing things on the podcast. But yeah, no, it didn't get a lot of love this week, and that's fine. Oh. What would it be? I did have this stitch marker on my hat project, so that made me happy. Whatever stitch markers that I made for my first or second SSK, I don't remember which. But nothing like lapis and turquoise to make me happy. So there wasn't a lot of spinning this week because I made more room for knitting, and I'm perfectly okay with that. So last night I decided to do at least a little bit of spinning, which was good. So I am spinning these rologs I made from various samples that I had lying around. So this is, what would it be? I made 4 rologs with my hand cards. So I had a bat from Classy Squid Fiber Company. I had the Falkland from Friends and Fiber in the Delphinium colorway. And then I had the Gray Lady from Hip Strengths. And so 2 of those were fibers that were in little samples, and I didn't need that much in order to do my little sheep to sweater spin earlier, or whatever, at the beginning of August. So I combined it with the Classy Squid. What would it be? The problem with the Classy Squid, I've received samples of it a couple of times, and it is greasy. And it's just not something that I particularly enjoy to spin, so I decided to make it rologs, make it quick and easy, and it's been enjoyable to spin long draw on these. So I'm using my Bosworth because what would it be? Because it's an enjoyable little spindle to use. And so I'm just going to have this quick little project here. So technically speaking, the Tour de Fleece Tour de Fleece in tandem with Tour de France started today, but I don't think I'm going to participate. Just because I feel like there's enough going on, and I don't want to add to that crazy. What would it be? Or I feel like my knitting handspun mojo is higher than my making handspun mojo at the moment. Or that I would like to knit my handspun, which means I could make time to knit my handspun. So that means not making as much handspun as I have been. Slow down, keep it chill, no big deal. So I think it'll work out okay. Sorry, I was just looking at the empty screws in the room that I could use to hang stuff on the wall. So spinning wise, what would it be? My wheel doesn't have stuff on it. I will be resuming the sweater spin at some point, but I'm guessing what's going to end up happening is I am going to, or what would it be? So September starts on Tuesday. Crazy. And that means I will have another opportunity to add something to the Nest Feather Your Nest challenge. I did manage to get through that last spin pretty quickly, so in time for Stash Dish even, so it probably means I need to pull out all my nest fiber and figure out what it is that I want to spin. So with my little rollout project, I'm doing long draw, but it's turning out pretty fine. Whatever. But I think what I want to do is take my top, turn it into maybe like color coordinated bats, and then spin over the fold. So spinning over the fold takes, or would be something that's maybe a little bit more worsted prep, and forces you to spin it in more of a woolen way, and that's going to help me make thicker yarn. And I can definitely see where would it be. I have a couple of different club colorways floating around, but I was sort of thinking of taking this guy, which has sort of grays, blues, and browns, and maybe breaking it into component colors and making bats and sort of playing around with that concept. Or maybe doing a combination of some things, or taking 2 bumps and making something like that. So this guy is Wabi Sabi, which I think is the last of the, or one of the last shipments of nest fiber that I ended up getting before I knew that I needed to slow down. I find, or what would it be, I always find it very interesting how people can be a part of multiple fiber clubs, but they spin thicker than I do, so their fiber usage rate is greater than mine. Because if you look up a pile of hand spun, I spin a lot. I spend a lot of time spinning, but I don't need a lot of fiber to spin a lot. So being a part of a monthly club is, what would it be? If we, like, roughly speaking, break it down, like, a really productive month is probably somewhere, I don't know, between 6 to 8 ounces in a month for me, but oftentimes it's probably closer to 4 within a month. So being a part of a monthly fiber club is bringing in fiber about as fast as I'm spinning it. And if I have other projects where I get fiber from other sources, I am quickly underwater. So it would be, it's not like it's that crazy to score fiber in an update or fiber in a destash. So in some ways it challenges me to have colors I wouldn't normally spin. On the other hand, when I bring in fiber asynchronously from events, like, what would it be? I seem to have no trouble replacing what it is that I spin, or even replacing it faster than I spin it. So just need to chill out a little bit. But so sorry, you guys can't see what I'm doing, but I'm just trying to pull everything out, but I can't quite reach everything. So yeah, no, there's one more that I think I'll end up pulling out, and I'll actually just go quick with that. So this is another one that I think ends up coordinating really nicely. So this is Something Wicked, which is Finn, and this is Wabi Sabi, which is BFL. But there is a little bit of, there is less gray in this one. It just has like a very slaty blue in it, but then it also sort of has a lot of the same colors. So I'm wondering if I want to sort of split these up, make a couple of different bats with it, and make something cool. Something with thicker yarn, something a little bit less crazy. Hopefully some, like, 2-ply finger. I would be so happy if I could make a 2-ply fingering right now. But I feel like these colors are very harmonious. She tends probably using the same dyes to make a lot of it. Whatever, and it'll be like a fun sort of project to throw these together. Like, there's definitely a bit more orange in this guy. So I might take these, I might split them up. If I don't know, I'm a little bit bummed that there isn't, or I guess I did find that phone holder, so maybe there'd be a good way to put together like a little filming setup where I can have my phone plugged in and and I can have it be usable for something like Instagram Live. It seems like a fun sort of thing, so I don't know. So I'm thinking of taking these two, which what would it be? I think because of the brown, I'm not quite as in love with them. Like, I do. What would it be? I do look good in brown. I just don't love it as much as I do love blue. So sort of breaking these into component parts, turning it into a bat, and then spinning it thick. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. And now that I have them out, I can keep them out and do what I want with them. But I'm gonna take you guys up. But there's the pile of fiber on the floor from the empty bin. Maybe. No, we're not back. It was like the angle changed, but... So, I think that's going to be my fun for the weekend, is making those bats, being ready for the little challenge, having a chance to spin those quick, completing everything that I needed for my nest challenge, and calling it good. Because I would also say, based on like getting this particular sample project that I had set aside started, was good with respect to being like, okay, I'm taking all of these small bits and bobs that I don't really have a plan for and making something with it. Also because the unwashed classy squid was certainly a dangerous thing to keep near the stash, because insects love a dirty wool. So if I have clean wool, it's a lot safer. Just saying. So it's, yeah, no, I don't know. What would it be? I would say that of the fiber that I have remaining, I've actually got it down to a pretty reasonable level. One thing that I'm thinking of when I sort of look at it on the floor is that 4 of those braids look like they could make a really nice combo spin. So I might have those be set aside for doing something like that. So putting whatever, taking those 4 braids, combining them together, and then making something like that, where it would be a decent amount of like purples and blues. I don't know, there is some, I don't know. It's always a little bit hard to tell which way it would end up breaking because of the brown in there, so I don't know. Or maybe I would take, or if I do more of a combination. I don't know, because the other ones I have also have, I have like 8 ounces of this, and there is a decent amount of brown in it, but also greens and blues. So, I don't know. Or if I'm planning on doing a combo spin with all of these guys. But the common thing amongst them is brown, so I don't know, whatever. So maybe I wasn't, so yeah, there's all sorts of crazy things in here. But the only odd one out is this guy. So this one is what would it be? It sort of has, this color is maybe like vaguely blue, but for the most part it's probably just not my normal color choices because there's an awful lot of it's more like yellow, orange, swampy green, and then a gray with it that reads somewhat blue. I don't know, or maybe I need to find someone whose colors these are more their jam and do a trade. I don't know. But this is the one where I think this is the bump that'll end up lingering just because I have less of an idea about what it wants to become. Though also, when you think about it, would be a lot of these are colors that contrast nicely with blues. So maybe there's something. Maybe there's something there. I'm not sure. There's just fire everywhere now. So, in terms of the other smaller sample amounts that I have to spin, all of them are up there. So, before I get started in earnest with my Romney sweater spin, maybe I should finish my sweater knit, hand spun sweater knit. I probably could just focus on doing hand spun hand knit sweaters for the rest of the year and call it a-okay. With occasional blurs where I make small accessories, who knows. But a lot of my small samples are up there. And so these are fiber that I made in class with the various Clemis and Clemis classes that I took, and they come in very nice Velcro sealable cardboard boxes, so I'm going to keep the boxes for sure, because those are awesome. But they have sleeves, which are bat lifter sleeves in them, and so that's keeping the bat nice, and so if I'm going to embark on a big project, I want as many sleeves open as possible, which probably means I should actually spin those samples. And some of them are actually like full-size projects, so what would it be? So I have all sorts of cool things there that could be spun up. As you, not all of them are my colors, so that's also another thing, is you're like, whatever. But so there are a lot of directions the spinning can go in. when I finish this project, I do have some choices I'm gonna have to make. One thing would be to, or would it be, one direction I could go is putting a lot more attention into the handspun sweater, because it is, or would it be, depends, because sometimes it's a little bit boring knitting, whatever, but there's color changes and other such things to keep me entertained, sort of at a low level. I could start knitting some of my handspun sock experiments, with the good thing there being that they're smaller projects. So I'm probably going to end up knitting pretty simple socks, because the handspun and all of its prettiness is going to be doing all of the work. But I've really been enjoying wearing my handspun socks. They are like the best socks. Hands down, like, it just makes me so happy to be able to wear them, so I should probably knit myself some more. Or I could continue on this accessory kick, because they're quick and easy and end up using up some of my handspun yarn in a pretty effective little way. Or I could cast on a second sweater. That's, I don't know, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a likely choice, but if I'm going to be able to knit for this Gader garment along, I probably do need to start within some sort of reasonable time frame. And then that is a matter of figuring out what my MC is going to be. So I've decided for the Isbray that I'm going to have a handspun yoke and a Wollmeise lace body, but I haven't figured out what Wollmeise lace I'm going to use with the handspun. I don't know whether or not I need to do a little bit. I might ply the handspun a little bit tighter for that purpose. That will eat up some of the yardage in it though, but what it be? It looks a little underplied, so it would make sense to give it just that little bit more, so it's sort of more to my taste, and that might be like a nice little spindle project to fix that bad boy. So like, it just depends. What it be? I guess it sort of depends on whether or not I hear back. I ended up putting out a article proposal, and if that proposal ends up getting accepted, then I would end up putting way more time into my handspun sweater. The one that's currently on the needles, not the ones I'm thinking of putting on the needles. So if that's the case, then would it be, I'll need to probably work hard on that. But I guess first I'll just keep working on this. You have to start somewhere. So would it be, because I do know, or would it be, I decided that my camel silk that I dyed gold and my yak silk from Greenwood Fiber Arts, those handspun yarns need to be together in something. They must be combined, and that's definitely going to be a very different project, at least for me, but I just think it's going to be, or that they're very similar in terms of sort of drape. I don't know in terms of weight. but they're very, very soft and lovely, so I do believe they need to be together. In some sort of crazy lacy project. I don't know if I'm prepared to start, effectively speaking, a blanket project again. I think I'm talking about the likelihood of these various hand-spun using projects in order of likelihood, and now we're just two ridiculous crazy pants. I also have been looking at these red skeins right here and being like, should I make a poncho with them? But it would be much more artsy than I think I would normally go. So, or would it be, because I have my flame yarn sample from Sarah Anderson, 2 of my failed First Stripes nest yarn, or would it be, or like, I don't know, maybe my water here is less crazy than my water in Dallas, so maybe if I get them wet they won't bleed like crazy, but whatever. And then I also have my Romney of failure in there too. I was very proud of that yarn when I made it way back when. I made it during the podcast, so but I am no longer proud of that yarn now. But having it be sort of a part of the interesting texture of the other ones could be interesting. I'm not sure. I may need to figure out sort of, or I don't know why, but for some reason poncho just sounds appealing. I'm just looking at all that yarn that's the same shade of red and be like, poncho. Maybe I could also add in the leftovers from that project. Who knows? What to be, except the fact that it might be less the color it originally was when I wash it, but whatever. I don't know. I'm definitely not feeling the strong call to the commercial yarns right now, so we'll figure something out. I'm trying to not be too hard on myself or put too much pressure knitting wise on stuff. That's fine. So what would it be? I might record, I don't know. It probably doesn't matter. I'll probably record at the usual time next week. I do have a little bit of extra vacation because of Labor Day. So that's going to be a little bit more time that I have where I will not be working. What would it be? Perfectly okay with that. No big deal. Oh, I did end up fixing that. Oh well, whatever. So there's my mostly unlisted yoga project bag. Unfortunately, a mouse ended up chewing a hole in the bottom of it. Also ate like half my Cliff Bars. Bastard. But I had some yarn and it's woolen spun, super thick yarn. So it was pretty sticky, and so it didn't take a lot of closing up the hole in order for everything to be pretty stable. But I haven't put a yoga mat back in there yet to see if my repair is actually going to hold up, but it's like, oh my gosh. Oh well. So yeah, no, I think that's most of it. So I was contemplating if I wanted to record a little bit later next week because I will have so much crafting time, but who knows, maybe I won't have crafting time. You never know. I might be emptying boxes in the office? Hard to tell. This is the home office, but I don't know, we'll figure something out. But hopefully you guys are enjoying the knitting with handspun content. What would it be? And we'll figure out where else my creativity takes me. So with that, I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week. So take care, guys. Bye-bye.